Okay, so it is 6:34. I'm gonna call to order the June 10th, 2025 meeting of the Town of Rutland Planning Board. First agenda item, I guess, will be the minutes of May 27th, 2025.
Make a motion to accept the minutes as written.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item 1, or item 2, 1, whatever it is. Board reorganization, postpone again.
Postpone. I'll make a motion to postpone it to the next meeting.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor?
Well,
Aye.
what are we gonna do if we still don't have enough people? Like, we have to get this moving at some point. I know that we don't have enough people to fully sign things out, but
The only thing I would say is that I'm hoping that select board will be willing to move quickly to fill the vacant position. And we're 2 weeks until our next meeting. I'm not saying it'll be done by then, but
okay.
while it can't be done by then because the appointment has to be done by a joint meeting of the select board and planning board. So,
I mean, I guess I'm wondering how crucial is it that these roles be reassigned? Is there that much of a negative if we stick with them until we get another person assigned to the planning board?
I don't know, somehow or other, I keep thinking of there's like a June 30th kind of deadline for doing that.
So there's no specific written policy, it's more best practice that when their election is done or appointed boards or committees are seated, then you go through the renomination process just to give others the opportunity to go for a seat if they would like to. But there is no harm or penalty for not doing it within a certain time frame. It's really at the board's discretion.
Okay. Yeah, I guess we punt it for now until we have enough people.
So I have a second on that.
Second.
Okay, again, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Alright.
Okay, next item, Mass Tree Holdings.
Interim,
Yes,
how are we?
so looking for a project update.
Yes, absolutely. So we are right at the finish line basically right now. As you guys know, Dave McRae left the town last year and we replaced with Harold Lemon, who has been absolutely fantastic to work with. We love him to death. He does have much stricter requirements. We do need stamped drawings to get permits for certain finish work from him. And that has come with a serious toll in terms of time. It's taken about 5 or 6 months now just to get stamp plans because they were originally drawn by someone who wasn't able to stamp them in mass, and you're never gonna find an engineer who will stamp someone else's work. So, I mean, it's our own fault, I guess, but we kinda got put behind the barrel in that, but we've come through that now, and then it's just National Grid. They are definitely also extremely time consuming. We are almost a year into it now to get our new transformer, and we're still not at the point where we can confidently say we have the final plans with them. We're close. One of the big things that we're gonna require is that every meter from the Sims Cab building is gonna get moved to the outside. We're gonna have to take a couple trees out, some bushes, put a new pad for that transformer right there. So we're going between National Grid, the highway people, because it's just a whole collective group of people that need to all say yes, but we're right there right now where we're gonna get back to work fully in the next couple weeks is the plan, and we'll definitely be open by the end of the year is where we're at right now. So.
That's what I was kinda wondering.
Is this your business partner on camera?
Yeah, he was gonna update you guys.
I just saw you raise your eyebrows when he said by the end of the year.
Well, listen, I love being optimistic, but there are some things that are outside of our control. Just want to say good evening, everyone, and I appreciate all the consideration that the town of Rutland has gone ahead to award us and provided us over the last few years. I would love to be optimistic. There are just some things that are outside of our control. I can provide, I know that this was more of a status update, and you guys have been very, very patient, so I thought I would just go ahead to provide a general overview of the status update for you folks, and hopefully if you have any questions, I can answer them. If they're trade specific, I may not be able to answer them, but I'll do them. I'll sure as try to do the best I can. But with that being said, for the scope of work that's in progress, our general plumbing's about 70% complete. The process plumbing's about 55% complete. The general electric is about 80% complete. Process electrical is about 40% complete. The duct work that ties in the DHUs is about 90% complete. Duct work intake and exhaust to the grow rooms and for the duct socks is about 40% complete. The big work remaining is just the HVAC system mount and to connect, the transformer swap, and the switch gear and power cables. That falls into what Matt was alluding with the Sims building having all of the dedicated meters basically brought to the outside, and we are working with National Grid. That's about as good of progress report that I can give you with the information I have at hand.
Okay, so,
Are there people working at the site for all those trades that need to be finished on a daily basis, or do you have any idea?
Not right now, because we were basically as of right now, no, because we are just figuring out the last bit with the HVAC design to ensure that we have enough there for the four flower rooms that we have. I mean, as of right now, we don't want to just be having the work done just to have it redone, or if you will, changed by another trade because there's a different type of design that we're going to go with, and that's what we're just basically waiting for. So it's been a long, arduous pain, but like Matt had alluded to, we do need to have all of this design work done correctly so that we're not just having to redo work more than once. But our goal is to have everything back and operational here sometime in the summertime. I mean, obviously, we would love to have it tomorrow, but we're just not there yet, unfortunately. It's been a lot of waiting.
okay, any other
How
thoughts?
it is.
You said Mass Dot, you gotta get a hold of them for,
Yeah, that's Clee's whole thing, and national.
Yeah, I mean, that's
National Grid.
yeah, in all candor, I'm not that we're dealing more with like the National Grid, and I believe, and I could be wrong, but I believe that the National Grid will then liaise with the Massachusetts Department of Transportation.
Yep.
Because they basically know what they got to do. I don't need, I'm not trying to impede anything because it's so far outside of my scope of knowledge. I'm just trying to provide any information to the people that can actually get it done.
No, sounds like it's a complicated process.
Yeah.
So it's very complicated. I don't know if you folk have had an opportunity to go there and have a look. If you haven't,
we
I would
did.
urge you to do so.
A couple years ago,
we're
compact
not-
difference. Way different. Way different.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, this is it's quite involved. Put it that way.
I'd love to stop by just to
Dude,
just
anytime.
to see it, but it kind of sounds like you're hoping to be operational again come the summer, but as far as finalizing the project, that's still kind of up in the air because there's some design elements that need to be ironed out and stuff like that. Would that be correct?
1,000%, because there are things. Look, I would love to tell you folks that we'd have it done by the end of the year, and that's being very optimistic. But I'm from Massachusetts originally, born and raised in Hudson. But now I moved to the south, down near Miami because my wife doesn't like the cold. But that's not here nor there. But what is I've also learned from back when I used to live in Mass there are certain agencies that in dealing with, you're kind of beholden to just the old father time, and that's kind of where we're at. You know, I mean, we've got everything to them, and we're just waiting. And so we've gotten some back and forth, but again, we're just beholden to them. I don't know once they say, okay, yeah, we're ready. I don't know how fast they move. So I would hate to tell you that we'll be operational by December until I really get the clock ticking with National Grid. Then I think we'll have a better understanding and timing.
Your
And then, I
transparency
mean,
is appreciated.
I'm sorry.
I said your transparency is appreciated.
Hey, look, you know, I've had a lot of hopes already in this project, and the only thing that hasn't ever happened on time is time. So I just now I'm not trying to be I'm just trying to be as real as possible. But I mean, I appreciate you folk all for continuing to support us. Believe me, we have a lot of money invested in this project, and we obviously want to see it come to fruition.
Well, I don't think we have any problem,
No,
you know, with it. It's, we would like to see it.
Yeah, come visit. I'm gonna be headed up there for the summer. I would love to show you all, but you know, I mean, I would be stealing Matt's thunder because Matt definitely knows the project a lot better than I do as far as the boots on the ground. So he could be the tour guide.
I'm willing to wait until it's almost open.
There you go.
And anytime you want, I'm on Central Tree Road, right across the street. I'm right there. Thank you, Mark.
all right.
All right, gentlemen. I appreciate the time. Thank you all.
Very good.
Thanks.
Okay. Moving along, next item, member resignation. Britton Bradford has resigned. I know they were still waiting for him to come to town hall to officially sign his resignation. I don't know whether that's really happened yet or not. But, basically, the process would be for us to, I believe, recommend a replacement. And I do have a letter of interest from Tim Narwhal to take the position. And I don't know, what I would like to see is a motion to recommend his appointment.
Also move.
I don't think we can do that. I mean, the town just voted me in, and I've only lived here for a year. They voted for change. And now we're gonna bring that same guy back? I understand Tim's expertise, but I don't see how that would be in line with what the town is indicated as far as what they're looking for from the planning board.
Well, this planning board member wants Tim back because he is an engineer. He has bailed us out a good many times with different items. And I feel that he hasn't got as many years as I have, but he has a few years, and I feel that he's got a lot of knowledge of what's going on.
So what's the next step in this process? Are we accepting letters of interest from other people, or are we only taking this from Tim? Because I've heard interest from other people, but I'm wondering what the process is to have their names included as well. I mean, some of them are here in this room.
Okay, Tamika? I'm gonna have to call on you because I don't know if there is necessarily a formal process of announcing.
Well, I think we would do it similarly to how we do for other board and committee vacancies, where we would put a notice out through the town website, we'd put it on social media, and then folks could submit a letter of interest by, say, a certain date, and then those letters can be considered by the planning board, so you could make your formal recommendation.
I mean, I understand where Tim's engineering expertise is good. I've also heard interest from people who are extremely detail oriented, which is extremely necessary for us to keep track of things like the monthly reports we're supposed to be getting from these developers, from the $250 per house we're supposed to be getting. I mean, I had to speak up myself on stuff that I don't even know if I was an associate member yet with Blair and the development down Britton. I think having people who are tenacious and detail oriented is extremely important for this board. And I think that the town said we want a new direction. And I liked him. I think he's a nice guy, but I do not support putting him back on this board. I know that if that happens, that puts me in a pickle. That's going to be difficult for me to rectify with Tim. But as far as what I believe the town wants and what they spoke of in the last election, I think we need to pick someone else.
I don't know, I have to abide by the results of an election. But in a only townwide election with, I don't know, what, 500, 600 voters in total voting, with only a difference in votes of, I don't know what it was, 50 votes maybe. I can't particularly accept your judgment that the town is looking for a new direction. It wasn't that definitive.
I agree with you that it wasn't that definitive, but I think it's also important to note that I've lived in this town since last February, so about 14 months. I don't know very many people. I had, I think, a total of 6 signs out and still took the day. I don't think it's about me. I don't think the town was like, yes, we all know and trust this guy. I think it was more about change. And they saw a different name from what had already been there, and they went with that. Because you're right, it wasn't a sweeping townwide thing, but nobody knows who I am. They're starting to now, but everybody knows who Tim is. He's been on the board for 17 years. And I think his experience is completely valid, but I don't know that we can go against what I personally believe the town was speaking on in the election.
Keith, any thoughts?
I would say, I guess, if Britton didn't step down, if you will, or resign, I can see the position the new board would be in and go forward that route. You know, I think it's been mentioned before that it's possible Tim could come back in. And I think it's just kind of a unique situation. I don't think it's kind of wildly thought up or anything like that. It's just another just way to move the board forward, you know. I'm not opposed to Tim coming back on. I know he'd be only there for a year, you know, until the next election, so I don't think it's you know, as it wouldn't be a long process before, you know, other people could run or come in. So I mean, opposed to the, you know, another 5 years, like one of those situations. So you know, I can go either way. You know, if people want to apply, they can apply. If we've got to let that happen, or we can see if Tim wants to do it, you know. I don't know if there's an interview process or it's just a motion and you make someone an appointee, you know.
So Norm, if I may.
Yep.
I don't wanna speak for the select board, just in my experience with how they have revamped their appointment process in the last year or so. I know that they have been very big proponents of not automatically reappointing people that have been serving in a seat, but rather putting it out to the public and making sure that everybody is aware that that position is available. So my only concern would be is I would hate for you guys to make a recommendation, but maybe come up against some resistance when it came to the joint appointment, because the select board would potentially point out that the opportunity wasn't given to everybody. that it was only given to Tim. That's my only thought on that.
I think if we open it up to people at least putting their name in the hat, then at least that's being democratic.
Hey, Kelly Reeves from the first town meeting here. What's this position you guys are talking about?
Just member of the planning board.
Member, you guys?
Correct.
Yes. Fifth.
And what do you guys, what's your pull? How can you guys make a difference for the town of Rutland?
Time,
Pardon me?
a lot of time put in this thing, plus other.
Okay, so you put in a lot of time, so
A lot
if
of
a person
other
becomes
committees,
a board
so-
member, let's say I wanted to,
So through the
then I have
plan-
to commit a lot of time to
Yeah.
make change that makes a difference in this community.
Correct, so
And
when
you
it,
see it happening.
And
when it comes to creating special conditions for some of these projects that you wanna see met, you can do some research as to what they're doing in other towns. Holden, in working with Blair, is putting in a lot of conditions that I would personally love to see put in. So you can do that kind of research and then bring that here and then helping to enforce those special conditions. And because the town planner can only do so much. I have a full-time job. A lot of these guys have a lot of stuff on their time as well as full-time jobs. And it's a matter as a whole board trying to hold these people responsible to affect that change in the town and take it in the town take it in the direction the town has prescribed in making sure that the builders are working within that.
Is there a lot of change necessary out there?
That's only a small part
Right.
of what we do, a very small part.
Yeah, is there a lot of change that you're looking to make in
Well-
a 300-year-old town?
Well, for example, there was just sent out a survey to do rezoning of the Route 68 corridor to make way for possibly more business to come into town and that sort of thing. That's a project that is kind of underway at this point.
Nice.
Not saying what's gonna happen right now, but that's.
You come up with the lure to bring businesses to that
Yeah,
corridor.
that's the kind of thing that we're studying.
And Tim, I don't know who Tim, what's his last name?
Tim Norwald, he was in this seat, we just had an election, and then one of the board members, because there are 5 board members, he resigned. And so now we have to fill his seat.
You need
Is what
5,
we're talking about, correct,
and Tim wants to come back.
correct.
And he's a good guy,
Yeah, he's a really nice guy,
just
smart guy
old
too.
school.
He's been on the board for years. He has been a part of the inner workings of the board. He's helped with, as they said, engineering and stuff like that.
As opposed to hiring an engineer, his word is.
we have an engineer as well. It's just
Town engineer.
sometimes
His ideas.
another perspective can be good. It'd be like if we had a building inspector and myself with 15 years of building experience was looking at plans as well. I mean, it's just an extra set of eyes. But I mean, we can't really get into who Tim was, that's not for us to decide as a board, or to speak on him personally in this setting, I don't think. But if you are interested in a position within the town government, it is a good way to try and contribute to your town and have some sort of a effect and stake on the future of where you're living, in my own opinion.
Okay.
So where do we stand with this?
Any other questions or comments from the board, first of all?
No. I guess not.
I saw earlier you had your hand up and back.
Yeah, I was gonna ask what kind of Alex brought up, what the process is. You said you have a letter of interest from Tim, and I'm
Yes.
one of the people who is also interested, but I was not aware of sort of what I'm supposed to do to express that interest or how sort of open this process is.
I don't think it's even been listed yet. I think that would at the
Waiting for
very,
board's guidance.
yeah, I think that should be our first step, is to list it and open it up to the town. I mean, at the very least, instead of us hampering it in between us, we open it up to other candidates and we can go from there.
I don't know, I have a hard time arguing against that. I'm gonna say, let's put the listing for 2 weeks till our next meeting.
Okay.
Yes?
I'm on it.
Thank you.
Do we need a motion to do that or not? I don't really think so, no. Okay. Next item, resident concern erosion issues at 140 Pommogussett Road. And
My name is Dan Rosario. I moved into the town in 2019. I purchased 140 Pommogussett Road. And I enjoyed the property between 2019 and 2023 without any issues at all. I love the town. Came highly recommended by a bunch of guys that I've worked with, and it didn't disappoint. My only issue began in the summer of 2023 when I started experiencing water coming down off of the hill into the backyard, something I hadn't had before. Coincidentally, it was right at the start of the construction of Arrowhead Way. That water problem increased over the course of 2 years, continuously got worse. This last storm that we had literally washed away almost 2 feet of the hill behind the house, pushed it up against my shed, caused damage not just to my house but to my neighbors' houses. And by way of history, I made an effort to reach out to Clea Blair back in the summer of 2023. I did meet with him personally on site. He walked around, and one of the things that stands out in my mind is that he said to the gentleman that he was with, "We did this," pointing at the hill. It's a 1-to-1 slope. And I think you guys know this in Massachusetts. Anything greater than 4-to-1 requires a wall, a retaining wall. This particular case, he said to me, "This is my fault, we'll fix it." That was in July of 2023. Absolutely nothing happened, zero, not even, I had one site visit by a guy who wanted to put mulch in the hole. And I made communications through text and email, all of which I have documented very clearly. I walked the site in 2023 and 2024. I photographed every time there was damage. Every time we had a storm and the water would come over the hill, I made a video. I kept very, very detailed records of everything I spoke to Mr. Blair about. And this last storm on May 9th of 2025, it's really hard to describe the amount of water that came over the hill. There's a difference between a trickle and an absolute waterfall. This was unbelievable. It washed away so much soil. It caused a lot of damage, not just to my property, but as it came down the driveway, it spilled over Route 56, filling the culvert in front of the house, which most of the water drainage goes down into the wetlands. But it took rock and water and soil and dirt over the road, down in between the 139 and what's your house?
137.
137 and 139, in between there.
It's 139 over there. I'm 137.
And my neighbor at 142 experienced a large slippage of the hill into his fence and almost into the house. This has been.
That was my house.
That's you?
142.
So it has been one of those things where I've made every effort to be reasonable and patient with Mr. Blair, who promised over and over and over he'd fix it. He admitted several times in text messages that it was his fault, that he would correct it. But every time I reached out to him, it was next month, next month, next month. Oh, it's winter now, in the springtime. Over and over and over. And so I heard some machinery going on sometime in the fall of 2024. And I took a ride up, and it looks like they were digging something out. There's a big machine back there, and I thought, great, they're doing something about it. Unfortunately, this last storm proved that what they did was not only inadequate, it was probably done incorrectly. If you look at, I took a GPS photo, not a Google one, but an actual GPS photo of the land, and directly behind my house, they dug a culvert that's about 100 feet, maybe. It has absolutely no way of going anywhere other than just that little culvert. And unfortunately, the end of the culvert ends directly behind my house. So this last storm took all the storm water from the roadway and directed it right behind my house, and it came down the hill. And I mean, there's really only one way to show you, it's to actually show you the difference between a little bit of rainwater and what happened at my house is really unbelievable. And if you'd give me a second, I will show you exactly what I mean. I took photographs of every rainstorm, every problem that showed up, but this is the
Why don't we
result.
move over there so we can all
Oh, sure.
do
Yep. This is the result of,
it together.
the torrent. That's not rain, that's a river. And it goes on and on and on and on and on. This water flow went on for 10 hours. There's a difference between an immediate flood that comes down over the hill and causes a little damage and water completely being concentrated behind my house.
Well, it sounds like a sound machine. It's,
And I can tell you, it didn't just affect me. I think I might have borne the brunt of the damage because of the hill, because of the slope of the hill and the nature of it with no wall. But I have 2.5 feet of soil on the back of my shed. And now every time it rains, it does it over and over. It's digging soil out because the drainage that was set along the side of the house is completely clogged with dirt and soot. And so the reason that I came today was I wanted to ask the planning board to hold Mr. Blair accountable for, there's no really, it's a really bad design. When I went up in 2003 to look at the road, there were no measures taken whatsoever. There was no hay bale, there was no, nothing to retain that natural water flow from coming up over the hill. And I do understand that at one point there was a company that performed a water flow test or wrote some kind of report that indicated that there wouldn't be a problem. They were wrong, as evidenced by this video. I do have very detailed photographs. I kept time, date, every single text message I had with them. I'm happy to share it with you all. I'm happy to share whatever videos I may have had. The problem is not just mine. This particular storm created a public safety hazard. There were cars that were hydroplaning in front of the house as a result of that water flow over the hill. With the culvert being full, there's no doubt if we have another storm like that, it's gonna happen again. And it could cause somebody to crash. It's just one of those things that has to be addressed immediately. My biggest concern is whether or not Blair Builders has followed the town's, requirements. Are the plans, was the work performed according to the plans that were submitted? And did the plans have anything in there about, a basin, a way of catching the water? Because there certainly isn't one there now. There's no way to control that water flow over the top of the hill, and my property is going to continue to get damaged. I know that in Massachusetts, it's illegal for any person, whether a homeowner or a developer, to redirect water in a way that's considered unreasonable into the property of another. And that's exactly what's happened. So if the town has any influence whatsoever, can hold someone accountable, or even make a request. The last time I sent him that video, he told me he didn't remember my name. After 2 years of talking to him, didn't remember my name and had no intent of fixing the problem. And that I have it in a text message. Every single one of my communications with Mr. Blair was respectful and patient. I don't think anybody should have to wait 2 years for mulch. It's all I was asking for fix the problem up top and throw some mulch on the hill and put it back the way it was. And he said he would for 2 years, and he's done nothing. So what I'm asking is that the planning board exert whatever influence you have over him to make the corrections before the neighbors in that neighborhood continue to get damage. It could be worse next time around. I don't think any of us moved here hoping that we would have to be here making this request or you know, having this particular problem. I don't have a problem confronting Mr. Blair. I don't know him well. I met him once. I'm not afraid or bullied by, you know, how many houses he builds here or whatever else. My greatest concern is, you know, my property for starters, and that of my neighbors, and that people be held accountable for the things they promised they're going to do. If the town set forth, you know, some rules, regulations, or codes that he has to follow, I'd like to know whether he followed them or not. I'd like to see the report from the company that said that there'd be no change in the water flow. They were wrong, terribly wrong, and it's affected more than just me. It's affected my neighbors. It's a safety issue. It might even be an environmental issue as a result of the water flowing over the road into the wetlands. So I think it's really simple. I'm here to make you aware that the problem has existed for 2 years with absolutely no correction whatsoever. To be dismissed after 2 years and be told he has no intent of fixing it. He cited, you know, that after 2 years, you know, I put a shed in the way of his machine, that his machine can't get in there. Not my concern. I waited a long time for him to go in and fix it. Those text messages are available to you if you want them. It very clearly will show that at no point was I ever demanding anything other than what he promised he would do. And now, as a result of his negligence and the result of his inaction, it isn't just me that's affected, it's my neighbors that have been affected. So I'm asking the board if there's something they can do to help us in addressing this particular problem and potentially getting it corrected.
Okay, I don't know, I guess the first thing I'll just start with is I met with you, actually twice.
Yes.
Went over there and once just by myself and once with Kevin Quinn, our engineer. He certainly acknowledged, yeah, there's a problem there. And I guess part of my problem is where jurisdictions lie and that sort of thing. You mentioned, you know, a hydrologic study. I'm sure there was one done. Hopefully, we still have a copy of it there. I don't know of anybody other than someone like Kevin Quinn who would be able to even evaluate that or look at it and see whether it's correct or not. You know, it's all engineering.
I'd like to get a copy of it. If I have to, I will hire an outside agency myself.
Okay, I can
tell you this, it may be very well written by some very well-educated people who happen to be wrong.
Well, you know, that's not impossible.
Yeah,
true. It's not impossible. I will take a look. The thing is, at this point, we normally would have a town planner, okay, who would hand that off to. I will go up to the office and see if I can figure out how he's organized files up there and see if I can find that hydrological study. Actually, no, I'm sure Kevin Quinn has one. I'll contact him.
Cause I would think that would kind of be the next step, cause whoever, if that was stamped or somebody stamped those plans, they kind of okayed that giant slope behind there, which there were really, it seemed like no mitigating factors to it.
Not on the house lots.
Not on a house lot.
On the overall development lot though?
Up above.
Up above on the
Right.
roadways and any cuts and fills that were done for the roadways.
I have one more request.
Mhm.
I know that the road has not been accepted by the town,
Right.
and I urge you not to until he makes those corrections. If you accept the road as it is, it unfortunately makes the town liable. According to Murphy versus Chatham, it's not a Massachusetts general law, but it is.
Case law.
It's based on case law. And Murphy versus Chatham indicates that the town became liable for the neglect for allowing a builder to do something that he wasn't supposed to do and then approving it and then not holding him accountable. That's not a threat. I'm just saying, this is the reality of it. By doing nothing, the town opens itself up to liability.
Henceforth, that's why I want Kevin's,
Get the hydrologic report.
yes, that. I also want him to take a look at the road
He has.
Well, he's
in the
has,
berm.
Yeah, we have.
To me, when I drove through there up above, I thought that berm was not, that Cape Cod berm is not right.
not high enough.
And,
He looked at it very carefully,
yeah,
you know, and when I was there with him, and he made no comment on it. I honestly have to kind of wonder
I was gonna say,
about that.
When I was reading through this, he had made a letter, I believe, saying that some of the preventative water flow measures going into the driveways that would have prevented some of this water from coming all the way down wasn't there, and even maybe at the end of the driveways coming around, that sort of a thing.
More specifically, there are 3 driveways that he noted. The aprons at the driveways are not high enough to contain the water into the roadway.
in the road, correct.
Those 3 driveways, Mr. Blair has agreed that he will fix those aprons.
Does he have a time frame? Because I know that we're working with Concom on this issue as well. And in my conversations with Concom, because before I went to this particular site, I went with Concom to the end of Bear Farm where it hits Britton, because there's a lot of trash in the wetlands. And they had discussed that with him. He said, oops, I forgot. Then he said he'd fix it. And I think he said it was fixed. I went there that night. It hadn't been touched. So we need to have some sort of a recourse where we can't keep telling Timmy, don't do that, Timmy, don't do that, without some sort of a consequence. Because he's continuing with the same practices, the same, as they used to tell me in recovery, the same patterns of behavior where it's the same thing over and over. Acts like we don't even exist.
Does the town have a code enforcement department? No? You need one.
Well, technically, we have a zoning enforcement officer.
Fines work really well.
Stop work orders work even better.
Yeah.
Well, which he can do.
How do we contact him?
Somebody's gotta get his attention, it sounds like. I don't know this guy,
What's
but,
his name?
I know he builds a lot, but, you know, so what? He's disappointing a lot of people, it seems.
His email address is in the email I sent you last Friday.
Oh, is it?
Meaning his
Yeah,
email
it should
address is in
take-
there.
Okay.
Yep, you can go
Wonderful.
back to that one.
3 driveways.
So I'd like to see what
Tomorrow,
the
done. Let's move on to whatever the next problem, your
plans
backyard.
look like. What are the measurements in there, you know, what is not up to snuff?
As built
Wow.
sort of stuff.
And, well, if it hasn't been, you know,
It's not approved, it's not at that.
it hasn't been, you know, shifted for the town to accept the road, has it yet?
He's submitted the
Yes.
request
For
for this
that.
fall, and if I may just add, Mr. Rosario had submitted a public records request. So I actually went through the file for Bear Hill and I pulled what I could for Arrowhead, and there is nothing recent. It's, I'm gonna say 2017 and older. I couldn't find any recent Quinn reports. I didn't see that hydrologic report. So, you know, Norma's certainly welcome to look at the file. I don't know that you're gonna find anything that's gonna be helpful.
And we are supposed to be getting monthly reports from him on that. Okay, I'll talk to him about that too.
The Conservation Commission also brought up the SWIP report, that they're likely in violation of the SWIP, the Stormwater Prevention Plan, which I was unable to find in the Conservation Commission files. That's having a copy of. They're supposed to provide weekly SWIP reports.
Okay,
Henceforth,
I'll email him about all this tomorrow morning and get started on that, cause that's a pet peeve of mine. So as of right now, we're already not in a place to, I mean, there's work that has to be done with that road before we accept it anyways. But as far as what we can do for this this gentleman in particular, other than provide him with the report that he's looking for. I mean, I feel like Clee sold him a house knowing it was gonna run into water problems. I wish there was a lemon law for houses.
You know, the select board accepts roads, so if they don't know about it, they're the ones to talk to about it.
Okay. Can we make them aware?
I would contact Tamika and
So
find a way, I guess.
I'll say, the select board usually only gets involved at the very end, once they have the recommendations of the planning board and the third-party engineer. This is kind of outside their purview, with the exception of that last step of placing it on the warrant. So I mean, we can certainly make them aware, I just don't know that they have the authority to do anything about it,
True.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Would we be able to add fixing, if we were even inclined to do so? Cause I'm just trying to figure out what we can actually act on for this. Would we be able to add some sort of a condition to accepting Arrowhead that he does some sort of drainage back there to collect all that? Cause there's direct flow and like a river from his house.
That's why I want Kevin, you know, let's have a talk with him and find out what the heck is going on. In his opinion versus I wanna see a copy of that subdivision layout, how it's supposed to be built.
Well, we can certainly get that, but at this point, Quinn Engineering has the as-built plans for Arrowhead.
He does.
He does. He is reviewing them at this time, as well as for Bryce Lemon.
Boy, I'd like to see what he has to say.
So would I.
Yeah.
I would, can I have a copy of those reports when they're submitted to you?
Yeah, whenever we get them, and again,
Are we allowed to join him on his evaluation when he does that and ask questions, or is that not allowed?
I wouldn't wanna say it's not allowed. I think,
First, we wait for him to make his and to find out.
I wouldn't think that would be an acceptable procedure.
Yeah.
For example, for you to go to his office and watch him as he's writing up, his reports or his evaluation.
Well, I know we've been on site walks with him before.
Yes.
I know we did a site walk of, or is that this weekend, this Saturday, that we're doing a site walk with him?
I'm not sure
So-
whether he is gonna be there or not.
The invitation was not extended to Kevin, I
Yeah.
can, this Saturday site walk was meant to be joint between the planning board and the conservation commission.
Okay, I just wanted some way of having him there to address, like, so at least he knew specifically what we were looking at, and what we wanted to focus on.
He has seen the entire situation. Okay, and like I say, when I visited with him up there, we looked at Mr. Rosario's property. And he observed that and certainly realized, yes, there's a major problem there. The only comment that he had, and we have his report, you have the report in the packet, was those 3 driveways certainly contributing a whole lot, or possibly contributing a whole lot to that runoff.
I have video proof that it definitely is contributing.
Yeah.
There's a difference between the opinion and actually seeing it happen. Is there a bond company for that road? So is he bonded?
It is bonded, yes.
Do you know who the bond company is?
It's a savings bank or bank.
I'm sure we have it on record.
Cause if we go after his bond, that'll get his attention. And I say we as in the town, and me separately. That makes a difference.
I did look for it in the file, I couldn't find it, I asked Kevin, he did not have a copy of it.
Wow, there's nothing in the file then, huh? Nothing but an old plan from 2017?
He just does what he wants, it sounds like, huh?
That's odd. No reports, no.
It's not impossible that those could be archived upstairs.
Let's say, is it part of Bear Hill?
Yeah, it's part of Bear Hill too.
Could be under Bear Hill 1?
No. Well, that's not impossible.
Yes, I'm just saying that,
Did you look through the paper files?
Yeah, I looked through the paper files in
Yeah,
John's
okay.
office.
Wow.
It would be great if we could have someone look in the archive for him.
I'm
See if they
gonna
exist.
go look. I will go and look.
you know,
I can't believe that we don't have some record of all of those.
8 years, you figured there'd be some inspection report, some site approval, some updated plan, anything. I mean, it's hard to believe that
There has got to
2017
be.
is the last dated document for that development.
And how many houses has been built on since then?
I'm almost wishing back to when I was keeping the notebooks. But that's before Bear Hill.
it's, yeah.
Should begin.
All I'm gonna promise you is I will look. I will do as good a search as I can through files up there. And see what's happening there. However, I just one bottom line I do wanna indicate is that, with the visit that I had with Kevin Quinn, the only thing he did note was those 3 driveway aprons. I have my doubts whether that is going to solve the problem.
No, it's not.
But beyond that, I've kinda got a hunch that there's not an awful lot that we're going to be able to enforce. Our jurisdiction is almost entirely on the roads and infrastructure. If
You definitely have to take a look at Murphy versus Chatham. That might change your mind. If the town does nothing and the problem continues to increase, the town becomes liable. The town becomes liable because it isn't as if someone is claiming something that can't be proven. You have to stand there, you can physically see it, you can stand in the damage, I can show you the damage in the video. It's not just my property, my neighbors are all
There's
experiencing
no
the same
culvert
thing.
there anymore, and the culvert that was there, before the road was repaired, it was like an 18-inch maybe, rusted, twisted, nasty little tube underneath the road, and I'd mentioned to the DPW before the road got started that thing needs replaced. They didn't replace it. So we've got that over top, the new pavement over top of that, going from Dan's house to right between mine and Chris's house. And we get all the mud and all the rain and everything else spilling over. There's no curb on Chris and my side of the street to redirect the water. No, just comes into our front yard. So now I had to dig it all out. And if you look over the fence that I have there, you'll see that I've pretty much had to dig out. I'm no spring chicken, but I've done it because I can't afford to hire somebody to do it. I'm looking for help if you guys want to come over, but I've been digging out the crap and the grass and all the dead stuff that's occurred because it's come across Dan's driveway into my yard, because the culvert now that used to be 2 feet deep is maybe 8 inches. I don't know about the one up the way here and what's happening to these people that are trying to sell their house, if it just slips between yards or what, but it's not doing it in my house. My house, my yard is just getting nasty. It's just getting nasty. And I've had a paid yard service for 6 years. Now I might as well just start over again, My dogs go out there and run and just tear it all up. We need some dry weather, I understand that, but we also need a solution to a problem. And, to wait for somebody to write a report, I got a fire under his ass, and some of this shit needs to start happening. It needs to start happening, not waiting for somebody to do something. It needs to start happening. His yard needs fixed. His shed is useless. His house will be next. This guy too. And Chris and I.
I think
Nobody's afraid of Cleve Blair except for, I don't know who is.
are there
But I'm
catch
not.
basins? Is there anything catching water?
I don't know why he's not here.
Is it up on Arrowhead?
Or Kevin, why he's not
In the
here.
street, they're street.
Because
creeks.
Nobody cares? Let's wait a few more days.
obviously if these berms aren't there it's not just what water is seeping through the grass pitched on these 3 houses up on Arrowhead, it's the entire roadway bringing water to the driveways, which is, a non-permeable surface, so it's just gonna, obviously, if you have 2 inches of rain or whatever, you're gonna have heavy water make its way through and essentially travel the driveway, cause the driveway is probably the easiest way to get it there. And then bring it back, so,
I have photographs that I took in the summer of 2023.
yeah.
Where the top of the road, the first part of Arrowhead had been finished, the rest of it was all dirt. And during the very first rainstorm that I noticed the water coming over the hill, it was funneled. It came from, I forget what road that is that Arrowhead connects to, but it was flowing down over the roadway into the dirt and over the hill.
Yeah.
And as they began to finish the road, they didn't improve it, it made it worse. Instead of, like you said, I remember Kevin Quinn saying that the berms were too short. Even back then, they were too short. But nobody checked. Why didn't someone go up and say, hey, your berms are too short? They're supposed to be this high. Instead of allowing him to finish the entire roadway with an inadequate berm and no catch basin, nothing. There's no way for that water to be redirected, at least in a
That's what I'm
proper way.
saying. Can we get all the water into a catch basin, and
Depends on the size of the
if it's,
drainage and everything else and which way it's aiming for.
yeah. I'm
And
saying, hopefully the plans, or,
I don't remember, Kevin ever having that report about the berms. I never heard
No.
that.
He said it when Norm and I were standing with him in my backyard. Told me that he looked at them and the berms were too short.
If that was that a report that went to the town planner and the town planner never passed it
I
on?
don't know, 'cause I don't remember that.
I remember it
I-
clearly.
Okay, I will
I was paying
definitely-
attention very closely to everything he
Okay.
said.
Kevin usually gives us a list to
Yeah,
chomp at, so.
Including, it was Kevin who clued me in that a 1-to-1 slope is illegal. He was the one to say, I listened to every single word he said.
Yeah,
And then when I looked it up, it's 4-to-1. Not 1-to-1 is completely illegal. At no point should a plan for any home should have ever been approved by any town or any planning board with a 1-to-1 hill that did not include a wall.
see, that is not something that would show up in any planning board approval that we would give. That would go to the building inspector.
Do we have a building inspector in
Oh,
town?
yes.
Can I have his name?
Tamika?
His name is Harold Leeming.
Okay.
He works Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays.
Right.
He's in the office. We have a part-time building
Would
inspector.
he have records as well?
Yes,
Okay.
there has to be a record of every building permit get given.
what's complicated is those are probably A&R, his house is an A&R lot, so it's, the plans are just gonna be, this is the property, this is where the driveway is probably, and where the existing building might be built.
And
So
I
there's,
don't know-
it's tough to say if there's engineered plans.
It
Yeah,
would have to be for the building permit. That would have to be part of the building permit file.
Would it show that
Would it
there's
show
a slope,
would it show topography, would it show the slope?
I guess,
I don't know the answer.
which
Yeah.
is where,
I don't know.
yeah, where it could.
We're not in the building permit business.
Yeah, I
We
understand.
did have a
building
different
inspector.
building inspector at the time that your house was built, though.
Okay.
Harold just started with us back in July.
Okay, and it was, I think, the first owners took occupancy in December of 2018, and I took occupancy in July of 2019, so they're only there 7 months.
Well, you can be sure that there is a building permit, and with that building permit, there has to be a plot plan.
Okay.
Okay, now how extensive that, or what that plot plan exactly gonna show,
And this is something I can get access to if it exists in the record.
yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Norm, if I may, as we were talking, one of the things that Conservation Commission observed on their site visit is that all of the trees are dying that are at the top of the hill behind the houses on Arrowhead, as a result of all of the water that is there. So just to speak to the volume of water.
Did they also, I haven't had a chance to listen to it or watch it yet, at Concom, did they discuss the water that was going over the road into the wetlands from the runoff?
So what came of that is I actually reached out to Mr. Ambler because we needed to get his permission to access the wetland via his property. So he and I spoke yesterday, right? Yeah, we spoke yesterday, he granted his permission, so the commission is going to do that on Saturday when they do the site visit. If the sedimentation has made its way into the wetland, it is now jurisdictional to the Conservation Commission and they can issue an enforcement order, which also is copied to the Mass DEP. But they have to confirm that before they can take any action. At the time, they didn't have permission to access that property.
Silt is definitely eventually gonna get there. If it keeps raining and pulling the hill down,
Okay, so
so.
Concom can pull on that string.
Yes.
We are going to look into some records, and then also there's the final road approval that ties into the water on his land because the water is coming off that road. But as far as what we can let Dan walk away with something to sink his teeth into, I don't think there's that much other than follow-on steps of conversing with people, and you and we'll talk. But does that sound correct, that
Yeah.
the next steps are kind of more documentations and figuring out what was
Sort of.
approved?
The only thing is, I will contact Mr. Blair. And, I don't know, be as forceful as I reasonably can, get those aprons in. Like now.
Dig a deeper
something.
culvert. It doesn't hurt to ask.
That,
You're right.
Maybe you can email him
I
and
was
get
gonna
his
say,
response.
may I make a recommendation that we do that in writing and create
Yeah.
a paper trail for the file?
That way we can see what he says back, and legally you have a record of
Do
what
both.
was said to him, and
Do both. As, now you're talking about this culvert, this is up at the top of the hill?
Yeah, I can show you a
Is it-
picture if you wanna see
Is it a
it.
culvert or is it a swale?
You'd probably be a better describe it than I could, since I don't know exactly what it's called. There's my house here,
Right.
and there's the set of rocks he put in. He cut a little groove. Look where it ends, right behind my property, exactly where the damage occurred.
Okay.
So that water
that's-
flows
oh,
down all
okay.
through here and ends up back here through these driveways.
So this is a
and ends
rock,
up
a
here.
rock-filled trench?
Yeah, it's
Okay,
maybe,
that's what we call
maybe 12 feet
Yeah.
deep. I mean, 12 inches deep.
Okay,
It's
that's what we call a swale.
Swale.
swale. Well, it's certainly not adequate. It doesn't stop the water flow at all. The hill, even on the driest day, over the last couple of years, is always wet, always.
Yeah, no. Well,
That didn't exist between 2019 and 2023.
so you don't have to tell me about Bear Hill.
Yeah.
I live on the opposite side of Bear Hill.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm not particularly affected by the subdivision, but I know how wet that hill is when you have a lot of rain. It's
One more photo, let me show you what it looked like prior to the water coming over. Dry as a bone, not a single, 4 years. It wasn't until they started cutting in Arrowhead Way that the whole thing started to deteriorate.
in no way am I trying to pass the buck for the board, but have you been in contact with your homeowner's insurance?
Spring.
Yes, they won't cover, well, what they call, surface water or mudslides. They don't cover it. We're not in a flood zone, so they won't cover it. Not at all.
nice.
So I have,
Worth asking.
some of you know, but I'm a retired police detective. I spent 34 years dealing with people who think they can bully around the small guy. I'm not afraid to go to court, not afraid to do what I have to do. It's not just for me, but for my neighbors. All I'm asking the town to do is to step up. If it was any one of you, you would want us to step up for you as well. To simply allow Mr. Blair to do whatever he wants, whenever he wants. I'm hearing, there's no reports, there's no inspections, there's nothing submitted, there's no way to find it, there's no way to hold him accountable. Just sounds ridiculous. It really doesn't sound like we're doing everything we can. There's a lot more that can be done. And I came here today to ask for your help to straighten this mess out before it's gonna end up in court if he does nothing. I'm not afraid of that. This is something I've done. I did it for 34 years, facing people in court, no problem. I'm very detail oriented. I have all my reports and all my details in order. And I urge you to look up Murphy versus Chatham. It's an important case that really puts the town in a state of, you become liable if you do nothing to prevent a problem that is well documented and well known, that was caused by a builder. This is his problem. He created this problem. That hydro, whatever you call that report, was inaccurate. It was wrong. It definitely changed the flow of water. It's created problems, not just for the Conservation Commission to look at, but for the safety on the roadway. This is a state highway. If the state gets involved, they may have another recourse as well. I may pursue that. But at this point, to hear that there's not much that we can do is simply not an acceptable answer. And I say that respectfully. You have more power than you think you have.
How do we know if he follows the report? Is there somebody that makes sure that he follows that hydro report?
It's not following the report.
Or does he just say, we followed it?
Well, I mean, as an example, he said he fixed something and then he went up to look at it and it's not fixed. He didn't touch it.
That's where I'm kind of wondering, is his word any good for anything?
No.
Cleve Blair's word's no good.
If you look at
Ask the town of
recent,
Holden.
yeah, I mean,
Ask the town.
I would agree with all of what you guys are saying. I think that your points are valid. Your level of pissed offness is probably less than what I would be at, or rather, you're probably being very polite about it. But I completely agree with you guys. I think that it's a huge issue. And I truly appreciate all you guys showing up tonight. And I'm not going away. I'll be here to help you guys however we can. But as far as what we can do as a board, I think we're working on that.
Sure. And I understand there are limits. There are limits, but I would ask that you use whatever influence you have to try to affect some change for the good of the neighborhood and my neighbors and myself. To do nothing would be negligence. To do something at least will show us that you made an effort. And I'm sure that my neighbors and I would appreciate it. I would. I do appreciate how difficult it is to deal with people who think they can do anything they want whenever they want and not be held accountable. They exist. They're everywhere.
If Norm is okay with it, would you be willing to maybe find some examples of how towns have held those builders accountable in those situations so that we have some sort of view of what our options are, what precedents are out there that we can follow?
The best example is Murphy versus Chatham. This is where a town was made aware of
What did the
problem.
town do?
They did nothing. They did zero. They did not hold the builder accountable. And in the end, the homeowner sued the town and won successfully.
Right,
It
and
was-
I
it
wanna
was a
see what we
big payoff.
can do to hold them accountable before we get sued by you
Sure.
guys. So what towns have been able to do to hold those developers accountable post some approvals? What they've been able to say, hey, this is an issue, you need to go back or else this, that, or the other.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
I think it's just honestly, to hear that the site plan hasn't been updated since 2017, that there's no reports in there, that things that are missing, maybe getting all of that, having him comply with all of the town requirements, and not giving him a year to do it. This is stuff that should exist now. So there's no reason why he can't produce it. If it exists or doesn't exist, these reports have to be generated right away and put into the record. Not for me, but for the town. Otherwise, builders will come in, do whatever the hell they want, and you can't do anything about it. You set precedent by allowing Mr. Blair to continue to operate the way he's doing it. It's not right.
Well, I will look for all the construction reports.
Norm, if I may,
Yep.
To Alex's point, would it be helpful, I have access to the Mass Planners listserv. And would it be helpful if I sent an email and just said, which the listserv is basically just a way that we communicate with other communities and say, here's this a general situation, what have you guys done in your communities to maybe provide you guys with some examples or some starting points? Would that be helpful?
That'd be great.
I'd do that, please.
Do the members of the board, anybody on the board know who the bond company is?
It's a bank.
It's a bank, you
Just-
don't know
yeah.
which one?
No.
Can we find out?
Is that a $25,000 bond?
No.
Or do we know the size of the bond?
Oh, it's gonna be bigger than that.
It's gonna be a lot bigger, right?
Yeah.
This
Yeah, I would
point,
think for a whole project.
It's been reduced, but
Yeah, it
Yeah,
has, yes.
they start out with an additional bond amount as he does construction work, as he proceeds on the construction. And we get reports on the construction that this has been completed satisfactorily. He can then request a bond
There
reduction.
have been no reports. So the bonds
They-
should be
they-
at the very top, it should still be that top number. And the reason I bring it up is I know that the town can chase his bond. If he didn't do what maybe you can't
him to
find him,
comply.
but you can get it, you can go after his bond.
Yeah, my recollection
Wake
is
him
not
up.
perfect. I can't say specifically that I do remember a bond on Bear Hill too.
He can't build a roadway without
He
one.
almost never does it, no. He can simply sign a covenant, which that cannot be the case here.
No.
And we don't know either
Because
way, if he has a covenant or if he has a
If
bond.
he can sign a covenant, which is actually, it's a standard thing. He first does present a covenant to us. He signs it, which basically says that he will not sell any house on the subdivision until the entire infrastructure is complete.
Right, but they're all occupied and he did
What-
it whenever he wanted to.
What then happens is, he then comes forward with a release of covenant and a bond.
Okay.
Okay, and the town obviously holds that bond.
So why don't you chase the bond to get it fixed? That's within your power.
That
Punches
is-
him right in the wallet,
Yeah, that
where
is a
what the thing
very.
values the most.
That's a very difficult thing to do.
It's the right thing to do.
We tried it once, on, not a Blair subdivision, it was another one in town.
Well, then you mean you have
What's the
experience, so
hurdle?
the
What's the
second
hurdle
time
that
would
you
be
come
better.
across?
If you tried it once and it didn't work, maybe the second time works great.
Yeah. That was on Deer
Maybe you
Run.
learn from the first time.
On Deer Run.
Yeah, dear run.
Which we tried to pull it and the bank wouldn't give it to us,
Okay.
which was interesting.
Is there a record of that first time the town tried to do that?
I
I hope so.
It's a long time ago.
was gonna say a long time ago.
Okay.
What I mean,
Subdivisions up.
You'd think there'd
in
have to
Treasure
be,
Valley.
but you're dealing with a small town, which is why somebody like yourself could be great at helping us keep things straight.
I would, but unfortunately, I think I'd have a bias and I'm not sure
And it wasn't
It
Blair.
would work. It wasn't Blair?
No.
no.
I know that other towns have successfully chased the bond of contractors who fail to do what they're
Oh,
supposed to do.
I'm sure it can be done, I'm sure it
You
can
know,
be
it
done.
just, it takes a little effort and willingness to do it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you now, if you don't hold the guy accountable, there's nothing you'll be able to do in the future. He'll run all over you guys, and what's the point of the planning board
Sounds
if you
like he's
can't
at
hold
that
people
point already.
accountable?
Yeah, one of the major problems is that if there was an engineered plan, if that plan was stamped by a certified engineer, and if he has constructed that subdivision according to that subdivision plan, then
Engineering stamp, can't you go after the engineers? I mean, I'm just saying, there's always recourse, even if you were to go after the bond, right? And that there shows that we are not messing around when it comes to these developers, and it sets a precedent going forward as far as you don't wanna mind your own P's and Q's, we will step in and mind them for you and potentially take your money. I mean, that's what these people seem to respond to.
The engineer has errors and omission
engineer that designed
insurance.
that is dead.
Yeah.
Then yeah, obviously if the engineer is dead, that's an unfortunate,
Yeah,
dead
but
end,
that's
but.
neither here nor there.
I give you an example, that the water study, what do you call it? It's a
Hydrologic study.
hydrologic study. That was written by probably somebody who knows a whole lot about groundwater and soil and,
Oh.
building things, I'm sure.
They have to, yes.
But they were wrong. So a someone could come in and design a community and say it's gonna work perfectly, and if they're wrong, they're still liable.
Yeah.
They still have to meet the code, they still have to stand, this is why I was asking about code enforcement.
Well,
If you have no code enforcement officer, how do you enforce code?
the code is not, I don't think it's really as simple as you might think. Because if I'm not mistaken, and again, don't necessarily take my word for it, I'm not an engineer, or a water quality expert or anything else. But the hydrologic study basically has to show that what they're doing is not increasing the water runoff over the entire site.
I have video proof they increased it by a whole lot. So they were wrong.
That's, the key is over the whole site.
Right. But in this particular case,
And
what they did was,
I'm not trying to make it.
by law, it's considered unreasonable.
Let's see if we can find the report first before.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to make excuses.
Yeah, no, I
Just
totally
saying
understand
that
where you're coming from.
Some things that you think might be so cut and dried, oh my God.
You'd hope. All I'm asking for you to do is to exert as much influence as you have. Explore every option. The bond is one that you should consider, because that would fix everybody's problem. He'd get up there tomorrow and correct it if you threatened his bond. Not only that, not only would he lose money, but the next time he went to build another community, his bond would be triple.
That's true.
It would cost him a lot of money to do nothing. If you don't chase him
No.
and it happens,
The bond is basically calculated on the cost of construction.
Right.
That's all it is.
ask the town of Holden how they're doing with his project there and the efforts that they're making to try to get him to comply. He's got problems there too. And it's based on the same exact issue, water and redirecting water in places it shouldn't be. So I wanted to make everyone here aware of it. That's my goal is I'd like for the town of Rutland to stand up and on behalf of its residents and do something about a builder who doesn't care how much damage he causes.
Yeah.
Not just here. Look at the other project up here off of Main Street. Talk to Holden about the problems that they're having. Everybody seems to be afraid to take the steps to go forward and hold them accountable. I don't think Rutland's that
I
town.
think DCR and DEP are afraid.
No, that's
They got
the
him,
next
they got
stop.
him nailed down up here right now, so.
Yeah. I visited there this afternoon.
Yep.
Well, I'm glad that there's somebody who isn't. I would assume that the town isn't either, but we've gotta do something.
Well,
Gotta start looking for paperwork.
yeah. For tonight, I think all we can give you is minor promises.
Sure. Look up the paperwork, right?
Should be.
And that sort of thing, we'll see where it goes from there.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I appreciate your time. Let me address the planning board. You can probably tell that I was doing my very best not to get angry. It's very upsetting.
I reviewed your entire discourse with Mr. Blair, and I guess the only thing I can say is that I cannot imagine a more civil discourse from your end through that whole thing.
I was as patient as I could be.
I would not have been that.
Yeah.
That-
That patient guy is gone now, by the way. I'm still gonna be polite, but I'm no longer gonna be patient.
So,
I was gonna say, if there's any documents missing, is Julian mainly his engineer? Would he have,
Yes.
is Julian required to keep records, or can Julian
this
dump
is pro-
records?
prior to Julian.
Really? Okay.
However, as far as construction inspection reports, Quinn Engineering has to have them.
Yes.
I'm sure they keep copies in their file.
Just curious. if
I have a
there's-
number of places to go to find these things, let's put it that way.
That's all I can ask.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Should do. That's what we should do, and let's do it.
Yeah. Okay,
Sounds good.
I guess, anything else on this one?
No, not right now.
Can I ask, are any
Yep.
of the members able to make it on Saturday, just so I can
Oh,
let the Concom know?
yes.
I'll be there.
What time?
10 a.m.
Yeah, the
on Saturday?
Concom
I'll
is
post an
proposing a
agenda.
joint, site walk. I should be able to.
You have permission, you
Yeah.
have permission to go on my property as much as you like, take a look at any part of it, even if I'm not there, feel free to check it out.
Not
I've already been there
available.
twice and I know it's only gonna be worse.
Yeah, unfortunately. I wanna start to clean up a little bit if I can, but I wanted you to see it first.
Okay, I'll let them
But send an email if you could.
Yep.
Thank you.
and I'll post an agenda in case there's a
Okay.
quorum present.
Make sure you take a look at 142 Pommogussett in the back as well.
Yeah, I could see.
You could see it
I can see it,
from the road. Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
it's pretty bad.
so. Okay, you know, I can't guarantee any particular outcome for you,
I know.
Yeah.
it's
at
all
this
just too
point,
much.
but
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
This is number two.
Thank you, everyone.
Wasn't this number two house that had stuff roll out from the back?
yes, there was, at least one on Britton.
On Bretnell,
Yeah. They had to bring,
maybe
they had to bring
3 years ago or so,
They
something
had
like
to bring
that.
in a skid steer to
Yeah,
scoop the stuff all out.
yeah.
And those didn't have even, I don't think they were quite the steepest slope.
No, it wasn't as steep
Yeah,
as
this
what's
is one.
behind his
That
place.
slope is, I don't understand how he didn't think that was just gonna come right in, like,
Well,
I don't know.
that'd be a really rough sand trap.
let's
Put it that way.
just say right at the moment, I'm gonna shut my mouth, because I would put both feet in it.
Okay, number 5, CMRPC delegate. And I don't know if we wanna wait for a full membership, or I guess particularly, I'm gonna ask Alex, would you be interested?
I cannot, I'm sorry, with planning board and kids and all that, I can't put anything else on there. I told myself I won't be a head T-ball coach again, cause I needed a little bit more time.
I have done it. I feel like I've missed the mark a little bit on that. It's a pretty serious organization. I didn't attend any Zooms, except for the annual one that I think we needed hours for, and it just, I don't know if I have the time, unfortunately, in a similar respect, to keep up with it and how important it is for the town and that group on their own, so it is tough for me, I mean,
It does take a little bit of time, and that's
Yeah.
for sure.
I just don't feel I can do it.
And I don't wanna get, 24 years was enough for me, so.
Motion to approve, point,
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah,
I
yeah, I know what
say-
you mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
I think we wait until we actually appoint someone for the other position, and I'll look into it some more. T-ball's finishing this weekend. Like I said, I really can't pile anything more on my plate, but I am a glutton for punishment and full of piss and vinegar, so maybe. I'll take a deeper dive, but I think waiting until we have another person that at least can say yes or no.
That's the best we've got tonight.
yeah.
Yeah, cause I mean, and once my wife hears this, she's gonna freak out, but.
I like the transportation part, I always liked the transportation part, that was
Oh, where are these meetings?
at NASDOT.
There's Zoom too, you can Zoom.
Yeah.
Cause I don't have a license, I can't get around other than a bicycle. So that might be a
Yeah,
slight hindrance there.
So they Zoom them as well?
NASDOT, and then the other one,
well,
I can't remember,
the-
down in Worcester some places where their main
The
headquarters. are.
delegate stuff, I think
Mhm.
you just join their monthly meeting, I think they do one
I-
meeting a month.
Once a month,
Yeah,
and then also I was on the
transportation board, yes.
transportation and the I was the assistant treasurer for a good many years.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like I said, I'll take a look at it, but I don't really think it's a fit, especially with me not having a license. Once that comes back into the picture in, a year or two or whatever it is, I might be able to reconsider, but I think at the very least we should postpone until we get another member that might be a better fit.
Okay. go
Norm,
on.
if I may, I know that the planning board's participation helps us get the DLTA hours, but for a bit of information, those were not funded in the state's budget this year. So
Oh, really? Wow.
there's no funding for those DLTA hours in the FY26 budget. We just found that out from Rep. Ferguson last week. The select board had sent a letter of support at the request of CMRPC to advocate for it. Unfortunately, we were a little bit too late and it didn't make the budget. So I guess in this respect, there isn't as much of a sense of urgency of earning those credits because there isn't any money there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, hopefully what we did send them for crying out loud will get, two things back for us. Open space and.
Yeah.
Or the map,
Yeah.
maybe.
So open space is actually being paid for with a grant. And they've actually just extended the grant.
Oh, they did,
Because
okay.
they will not be able to get the work done by June 30th, so they're going through the process of extending the grant agreement, so that work will be covered by the grant.
Interesting.
Okay, so anything else on that? I don't think so.
No, no more Route 49.
Yeah. Okay, last item, update on hiring process for an interim town planner. We went through obviously the interviews and that sort of thing. We got, the recommendation from us to our interim town administrator. He, as of 2:15, 2:20 this afternoon, offered the job to Leah Ferguson. She is still interested. However, it's a kind of a question, I guess, a process, is the best I can say. That the town administrator isn't familiar with our hiring processes or negotiations for salary or any of that. He's gotta get up to speed on that, but he asked me to give him a day to do that. And that was, like I say, as of 2:15 this afternoon. So.
Good luck negotiating a salary. I don't think that room's in the budget. But
Well.
whatever that process is, I'm sure there's
We've got the whole town planner's salary,
Yeah.
right.
you know.
Oh, they didn't start there. They started with an offer that was lower?
He didn't make an offer.
Oh, I got you. Okay, I thought he made the offer this afternoon.
No.
And it wasn't in the posting either.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so this is it's scaring me a little bit because, you know, I would think that in the posting there would at least have been a salary range. And apparently there wasn't.
I'm sorry, Alex, I should clarify. He extended an offer of employment, but they did not discuss hours
it, yeah.
or payment.
Yeah.
That
Got
was
it.
not talked about.
So, and I'm not gonna get involved with that because that's
It's beyond our scope.
way beyond. So, I'm hoping that within the next few days we'll have some really good luck
Okay.
on that.
Are they offering a full-time position or just the interim, I guess?
Well, I guess it depends on what you call full-time.
Yeah.
I believe they're talking actually like 32 hours.
Yeah, so I think the discussion was to do the 32 hours because we're closed on Fridays. But technically speaking, the job title would be interim because that was what the position was posted for. You would have to repost the position specifically for the permanent position. Which Norm and I talked about today, you start internally, you have to post it internally for 10 days and then you put it out to the public. So technically, it's an interim planner with full-time hours.
Okay.
So,
Do we know when her contract's gonna be up? I know that's more
I don't believe
information.
she's going to have a contract.
Okay.
yeah, and this is kind of a strange thing because our DPW director has a contract, I believe. You know, police and fire all have contracts. Who else has
So
contracts?
not anymore, actually. So when Austin came in, he eliminated all contracts. So the only employees that have a contract is our fire chief, our police chief, and the town accountant. There are no other employees that have a contract, and the town administrator, excuse me. Those are the only positions with a contract. But you're correct, Norm, they used to.
Yeah,
And then when those positions were filled by new people, he eliminated them.
interesting.
So John did not have a contract when he worked here
Yeah, I know
either.
John did not. So anyway,
So I'll write down here soon.
Couple weeks, maybe.
Okay,
I tell you, I cannot believe how much we count on a planner now.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, on a couple of things on unanticipated items. Number one, you had asked to find out if the treasurer had started getting any payments on Britton Estates. The answer is a big fat no.
No. Okay. And
Wow.
I went through.
Knocked me over with a feather, I didn't see that coming.
And then I also went through and there are 10 houses built, 5 foundations and a couple of houses started on the foundations,
Thank you.
so. And also, for the record, please, the money will go into the ag account number 8215 is the trust fund.
Oh, hold on.
I was told there were 2 possible accounts, is that for sure that it's going to that account?
That's the account
That was in the
that
agreement?
the town also put $500 into. And it's for land, not buildings,
Right.
this is for land.
What was the number on the account again?
8215.
There's also an open space preservation trust account. Trust fund.
In the ag,
It's not specified as ag, it's just the open space.
well, yes,
trust
but
account.
it's listed I believe it's listed in the agricultural, and it's chapter 8H, and that it went through the town meeting on. And why I say the trust fund, because that's the only account that gets interest added. The town does not get it, that fund does, so it can build up.
So we would
40 years.
theoretically have had another $50 or $20 in interest had he paid these on time.
Good possibility of it, I
We
would
get that
say.
too.
So, I know that John had it listed down, and Blair was gonna open an account, but that's almost like he was thinking it was a
Like an HOA.
HOA, and it is not.
Yeah.
So it has to come to the town,
Anyway,
yes,
we haven't gotten anything yet.
okay.
We'll work on that one.
Do we know, can the building inspector issue a stop work order for that, for a lack of following that particular special condition? I mean, I'm gonna email him tomorrow anyways.
Or not issue a CO until the fee is paid on the house.
He might,
Okay, I'll ask.
he
A
might.
CO?
Certificate of occupancy.
Oh, right, yeah, not issue one.
Correct.
Oh, I thought you said issue, and I was like, is there some other?
No.
No.
Okay.
Okay, finally, I got a email from Nicholas George, our treasurer,
Not final, but yes,
regarding a Treasure Valley surety agreement. In other words, I know it as a pilot agreement. Solar farms go in, we cannot tax them, so they normally agree to give us what are called pilot payments over a period of years.
sure.
And the Treasure Valley owners are not paying their
Yeah,
amounts, as they are supposed to. At this point, they are, I think it's something like $30,000.
past due, 37.50.
Is this off Pleasantdale Road? Is that-
Yes, this is right by Treasure Valley.
Okay.
And anyway, I realize that my memory is fading. I did not recall the planning board really having anything to do with that actual surety. I thought it was kind of the solar committee.
The solar committee,
Did the negotiation.
correct,
And I kind of thought that the final agreement would be a select board
it
thing.
was.
It was not.
It was not?
It was not. Here's the surety agreement. And guess whose signatures are on the surety agreement?
Mine? No, the planning board.
Top line, mine.
Yep.
Second one, Addison.
Yeah.
Bottom one, Marilyn Sidoti, and I cannot read the other one. It's not yours. I know
It's not me. And
Anyway, bottom line. Item 7 of the surety agreement, and I'll read it. It says, in the event Nexamp fails to make any payments specified within 30 days of its due date, after notice and hearing, the board may require all remaining payments to immediately become due and payable to the removal of and restoration fund. Wait a minute. This is 2 separate things. Sorry, I did not read that completely. Okay.
so she had,
I am confused at this point. You have this in front of you, the same thing, right?
yeah, right here, yep,
This is the pilot agreement. Payment in lieu of taxes,
correct,
correct, right?
yes,
Okay, let me read this again. In the event Nexamp fails to make any payments specified herein within 30 days of its due date after notice by the hearing board, the board may require all remaining payments to immediately become due and payable to the removal and restoration fund. Okay, wait a minute, it's to the removal and restoration, not from.
but, and that's what this
Okay.
is about.
Okay,
Because I believe if they don't make their payments, the town reserves the right to have them take the panels down, and they cover the cost by making the payments to that account.
That is correct.
Correct.
So
so,
it's an abatement type, is that the right word, or abandonment?
So-
so at this point, we need to, I guess, hold a public hearing.
Yes,
Now, this, I don't know, Tamika, if you have any experience with this, but I don't think this is a public hearing like we would have for a special permit or a subdivision or that.
My guess is there's probably something in MGL that stipulates how you have to hold the public hearing for something like this. At the very least, I'm sure we'd have to do a 2-week publication in the newspaper.
Yeah, I'm sure of that. Is this something that we need to consult KP?
I would ask Nick if he thinks this is something, because he may have experience with this and say, no, this is a straightforward thing. But we certainly can if the board is more comfortable with that.
Because I am not familiar with this kind of thing at all.
Well, it says that they'll pay they would be liable for any legal fees or they'd come out of that fund if,
Yeah.
so go ahead, please.
question I would have, are they still, the owner, is he still
They
around?
can't find the owner.
They can't find the owner.
Or Nick cannot find it. It's been, apparently it's changed ownership multiple times. And at this point, he can't find out who owns it.
Somebody's gotta be paying.
Now, is this thing still function?
The Valley should know who the owner is, cause they should be receiving a check,
Yeah.
where that comes from.
That's interesting.
Uh,
You have to rely on the Boy Scouts of America.
yeah.
Them and
Good
National
point,
Grid.
Dave, I think it's a trip over to Treasure Valley, find out who.
you like me to talk to Nick to get a better understanding of
Okay,
this?
yes.
Cause
Yeah,
I
if
was
you
planning
can.
on doing that anyways, I figured you guys would be taking this up on your next agenda.
Yeah.
So I can get a better, cause I'm new to this too, I can get a better understanding from him and pick a direction going forward. We couldn't do a public hearing till July anyways, just based on the timing requirements. It's been an issue for so many years, I'm sure, a few more weeks won't make a big difference.
It'd be very interesting if we can find somebody at Treasure Valley
Yeah.
that has a,
Anyway,
what's
gonna
going
say-
on.
I guess
National
the one
Grid.
thing I have to conclude on this is my memory does not go back to 2013. Cause that's when I signed this thing.
I was gonna say National Grid maybe, but I don't know who our even contact would be, but just throwing it out there. If they're accepting the feed from the site, they would know about every ownership change. wouldn't
Trying to
they?
get anything from National Grid is,
True.
It's, yeah.
I do have a
it's-
contact, I could try.
yeah.
Yeah.
I have our municipal rep that we
See
work
what,
with,
see what Nick,
Okay.
Yeah.
can find and give you.
got it.
And
I realize it says in there that they don't have to pay for anything legal, but I hate the thoughts of having KP Law, having to hunt and search
Yeah.
as to who really owns this thing now.
It's too bad they can't, there's no requirement for them to tell you if it's changed ownership.
well, they're supposed to, I thought.
Yeah, so I mean,
We'd have to go
That's
back
too
to the
bad,
special
too.
permit.
Yeah. Henceforth,
I'm kind of, I would imagine there probably is a provision for that.
yes.
Okay, so how many times did ours change then? I bet you don't know.
Do you know?
I
2,
do.
Oh.
About 4 times.
4 times.
Because the first company went bankrupt. So then that was the first switch, and then it's been sold 3 more times or 2 more times.
In how long of a span of time?
Since then, it was.
Since
It
13.
was installed in 14,
Wow.
Yeah.
but I know who owns it.
Pardon?
I know who owns it.
You know who owns it.
Oh, you do,
Well, you
yeah.
do.
So I mean, they should, unless they're not receiving a check, then they should be just as upset.
Yeah. This is one of the henceforth why I used to all the time, where is the solar committee?
Yeah.
How many, Dave, how many panels in your solar field are not working?
Oh, now there's probably none. 'Cause
None.
They've spent all spring and summer, they're replacing 1,300 of them.
Wow.
Wow.
Because it got hit by lightning last summer.
Hmm.
It took them all last fall and winter to decide who was paying for it. And they've been there all spring and summer, they just finished up last month.
Wow.
So henceforth, I think, if the town likes this kind of money coming in, I think it'd be nice to go around and the solar committee, if it was ever reappointed, to check on the solar fields. Because to me,
Wasn't the solar committee disbanded?
yes,
Yeah.
So that's where that is.
yeah,
So hard to get people to serve.
Which Nick said the other solar companies are fine with their payments.
they are, okay.
well, that's good.
Well,
So this is applied to every solar farm in town? Is that
Yes.
what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
General fund, or it goes to,
Yeah.
it's
General
a,
fund.
yeah,
Yeah, it goes into the general fund. Okay, so we'll look into that one.
Norm, I don't mean to interrupt, I think you just accidentally skipped over and I just wanna quickly mention that there's a site plan review, public hearing scheduled
Oh,
for the next
yes.
meeting.
Yes. George
So
lives here.
I took care of all the public hearing processes for it. The building inspector Harold had offered to do technical review until we have a town planner. So he's already reviewed it, he said it was very straightforward, he's provided me with a memo. We used the new fee schedule based on the size of the garage, so George paid the fee based on that. So hopefully this should be a pretty straightforward one for us kind of being in limbo here. So we can't really talk about it till the hearing, but I just wanted you
Yeah.
to be aware that it was coming down the pike.
and Concom's involved with this,
So they've already permitted it.
they have.
Yes, he had come to them back in the fall and they issued an order of conditions for it. So the conditions are still good for another 2.5 years.
Okay.
Yep.
I might make a request for a copy of that.
That's
So,
fine, I'll send it to you, Dick, I'll write myself a note,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Is it a house lot?
No, he's building a garage on his property.
Okay.
He sold some land up north and he has some farm equipment that he needs to store. So he's gonna be building
We have
a
a-
garage on his house property to store the farm equipment on a concrete slab.
Yeah, I just don't see a house
And I-
structure, or maybe,
So he has, so his two lots are adjoined, his house is at 183 Pleasantdale, and then this particular portion of
is
his
a
property
lot.
is 187
Okay.
Pleasantdale. But if you pull it up on the GIS, you'll be able to see
it'll
it.
make more sense, okay, thank you.
Down at the Four Corners. The other thing that, I really would like to have convene a site walk sometime at Mr. Putnam's property. This is the village center, what are they, north? I think, I don't know, I can't remember how we called it, but
Yeah, it's just Village Center District. I don't-
anyhow, my feeling is that I would like to try to promote, you know, an area, I mean, especially to try for anybody to, wanna build something and, or start anything. And, we need to very desperately. And I felt that the planning board should be shown where the property is, show what can be on it. I would, also probably ought to pull up some, graphics. DCR's out in mostly the back part of yours, isn't it anyways,
Behind us.
behind you? So,
I know I talked very briefly with you about a year ago. Starting to look at Coppola's property,
Yeah.
and we were saying that we could maybe do a joint thing. So, that, you know, both of these could have some kind of special zoning more than just village center district that would be able to foster business growth.
yes,
Well, the back of our property is already light industrial office anyway, so that's,
Okay.
does have a different zone.
Mhm.
The issue why I'm here, just because I'd potentially like to be on your docket for next meeting, is the new house that was built next to ours, which was built in the village district, which never had a hearing here, which I 100% think it should have, but the town planner said no. I live by that, that's fine. It's a grandfathered, too small of a lot, shouldn't have ever been there.
right.
The new property owners have installed a fence, basically 3 feet from the curb of the road,
I saw
which
that,
now
yeah.
messes up my sight lines, which was a requirement from you guys when we had our business hearing in the district. We all kind of agreed it didn't make sense to have an actual traffic study because everybody at the meeting knows my property, knows
Yeah.
what the road looks like.
Right.
Sightline was not an issue. Now it's a big issue.
No.
I've got customers that are stopping in the middle of the road because they don't realize where the driveway is now. They're doing U-turns, they're backing up. It's completely unsafe. I did speak with the building inspector about it. He had to do some research to see if it was in his jurisdiction because the town of Rutland does not require a building permit or any permit for a fence unless it's 7 feet high or over 7 actually. So I assume that had to do with the solar fields needing the 7-foot chain link
1946.
fence. So
Fence view.
he checked with apparently town council, and town council advised that it's not in his jurisdiction because there's no permit required. But it's a structure built on town property, I don't see why that's not his issue, but
Yeah.
at the moment, he's hands off. But to my way of thinking, at the very least, this board is so-called in charge of the village district, because if I wanna do anything on any of that property, I have to come and see you with a plan. So now you've got a fence on town property in the village district that doesn't have a plan or a hearing, so I guess,
Could that go to DPW? Cause I put in a sprinkler system, and he threatened to tell me I had to tear it out because it was within 20 feet of the center of the road. And it was technically town property.
And I talked to Chris, and Chris said it is 70-foot easement. And you said there's a stake, if you're ever on 68 coming from Hubbardston down, you'll see the telephone pole and the fence right behind it, and there's a small stake about so high right there, and that's where the easement stops, so.
About 3 feet from the pole is where the property line and quarter is, so he's got his fence 2 panels plus about 3 feet, so 18, 19 feet onto town property.
Yeah.
I don't think he realizes any of it. I mean, I think it's, but I just don't, people say, well, why don't you go talk to him? I don't think it's my place to go say to him. I think somebody in more town official should
agree.
go and say, hey,
Yeah.
you know, your fence is on the town property, you gotta move it. I don't think, as a neighbor, I should be going to do that. But town council told the building inspector to advise me that it's a civil matter and the town should have nothing to do with it. Well,
What?
it's civil between the town and him, not me and him. So I'm not sure where that came from.
And that's not the only fence either. There are,
That's what I've heard.
Probably
Yeah.
others, I wouldn't doubt it.
there's others, and to me,
It sounds,
like I just pointed out to Tamika, this is 1946 town report, and how a gentleman that was,
Viewer of fences?
fence viewer,
Fence
yes. And that's what they had back in those days,
Yeah.
was appointed
was their
to,
position, right?
yeah, just appointed, you know, Tom, Dick, or Harry, hey, get out there and check.
So
Only
reminds
time
me
there
of
was a
a-
dispute, that was their job, was to try to
Yeah.
square it up,
Square it up.
hopefully before court.
What were they called, Dick?
Fence viewer,
Fence viewer, I've never heard of that before.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
really cool.
You know, you
It's not that long ago that disappeared.
yeah.
I
I don't think it is, but I believe it went away with Harry Johnson, because that was one of the many hats that he wore.
And that's what I keep thinking, reading a town report, a fairly recent town report, 10 years ago or so.
Actually, they got.
And fence viewer was in there. So it hasn't been gone
So
all
somehow
that.
we
Take the
lost
book with
the
you.
track
And they
between
put it
fence
in the
viewer and
report?
having
It's right there.
a permit requirement for fencing, I guess. Because pretty much every other town around us requires a permit for a fence,
Oh, really?
yes.
I honestly did not know that.
And usually it involves surveying to make sure that everybody's satisfied with where the fence is placed.
Well, that makes sense.
Yes.
And perfect example of somebody being able to say, yeah, it doesn't go there.
An example, you look at the storage on 68 and how far back that fence is. And there's a reason why.
Like,
it was
okay.
done right, yeah.
That one went before ZBA back in the day.
Yeah.
Well, it had probably site plan where, if you're saying you have a guy who lives on a non-conforming lot, he's got like no room, it sounds like.
Yeah.
It's tiny,
Let's not go there.
maybe it's not tiny. And I'm not saying
I
that,
was on Concom and we fought tooth and nail about that piece of property.
okay,
And it ended up a senator in Massachusetts, Mr. Kennedy, sent a letter to the town, and that was it.
are you
The other way.
at Bay State Hydraulic, is that the further up the road is the fence or before it?
Well, if you're
It's just right,
driving north, it's just before I drive.
okay,
Yeah.
alright,
You can't miss it.
yeah.
I don't know where we go with that.
I feel that it is a situation that has to be resolved because it's not only for him, but others, I think it's something that maybe the select board ought to be on their agenda sometime or have a discussion about it. If it used to be, and I don't know when it, like you said, it probably was Harry Johnson when it got stopped. Because between him and his wife, Judy, they were in so many little boards all over the place.
I can't believe it doesn't fall under the building inspector.
Well, that's what I kind of think it should.
Is it a dangerous situation? Is that what you're kind of getting at?
Yeah.
It's very dangerous.
Yeah.
Many customers, of course, from my father's house, he can see the end of the driveway. And almost every day, he's got a story about, oh yeah, somebody, whatever, they stopped, they did a U-turn,
Right in
they
the road.
backed up in the middle of 68, whatever. It's pretty much every day there's a story.
Yeah.
It's just gonna be, and as far as I can see, pretty stupid reasoning.
For going in and out of the
The
driveway.
only reason I'm
Yeah.
bringing it to this board, because again, like I say, if we do anything on our property, you guys are the ones that have the say on yay or nay, yes, you can. So I would think that you would have the say to tell the building inspector, we have an issue here in that zone, can you please take a look at it, would be, I guess, my request from here.
Well, I'll take a look at the village center district bylaws. I don't know where I would find any authority. I'm at a loss on this one, totally.
Yeah.
I'm totally at a loss.
I mean, like I said, I had DPW tell me that anything within 20 feet of the middle of the road was town property. I had put in a sprinkler on town property, and he was like, I could tell you to have it torn up. So he was under the impression that that was town land, and that if it is town land, the town can tell you what to do with it.
Well, it's a state road, so it's in a state easement or?
It's a county road,
It's a
isn't it?
county, well, it would be,
How do you?
county has gone back to the towns.
It's in the town.
Okay.
So it is a town road. So
And
that sounds
I
like,
do believe the only state road is 122A going through town here. 56 is not.
no,
It's federally approved for getting money through the feds, but that's all.
56.
I'd
yeah.
like to take a look at our general bylaws regarding obstructing public ways.
Hmm.
There might be something in there.
Wow.
And if not, maybe I'm not saying if not, but going forward, maybe we should, try to avoid it by having a fence viewer type provision in something,
Or writing a fence bylaw.
fence bylaw.
Yeah. We do have a new town planner coming. Not that it needs anything to do, but
Oh yeah, we'll have plenty for her to do.
yeah, really.
She may come in and take one look and hightail it right back out.
Make sure you make her sign a contract.
Oh, boy. Okay, I can't offer right here, right now, any solution.
Public comment. If I can be on the next docket for an answer would be appreciated. If it's yes, no, you're in trouble, that's fine,
Yeah.
I gotta start somewhere.
Yeah.
'Cause
Well, I tell you what, since,
I probably will then go to the select board, I probably will go to the Board of Appeals. Because I can't, it's already, it went in on Good Friday.
Yeah.
And.
well, since it's an illegal fence, why don't you just have a couple of big signs made? Bay State
And I need
hydraulics.
a permit for a sign and you'll be all over me.
Stick it on the fence.
That was the first comment, my sign is like 30 feet back from the edge of the road. Because I have to be 5 feet behind that line.
Yeah,
And everybody always asks me, why is your sign back? Because that's the right of way of the road.
I look at that every time I go by. and
But
I
as
think,
soon as I
why?
move that sign
Why is it
forward,
there?
I'm the one in trouble because I'm the one that needs the permit for the sign.
Yeah,
See the catch-22 here?
oh yeah,
Okay.
Okay. I don't know, we'll see what we can find, or if
Yeah.
we can find anything. I'm not,
It'll be interesting. I think it's something that the select board should be involved in, and
mhm.
it's just, wasn't it the next meeting? It's probably gonna have to be in a big room. So is there a public comment session,
There is always public comment at the top of the meeting,
and everybody's gonna make a comment? No.
as long as you
So-
name and address first, then you're good to
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
Really.
Can we do a private ballot?
Okay,
All right.
is there anything else to come before the board?
Would you like to speak?
I'm gonna write a letter.
Okay,
No, I'm here mostly to observe and find out about the process and, you know, be here.
This is my nephew's wife,
oh,
Lauren.
okay. So, as you can see, there's something new every day.
Yes.
I was gonna ask if I'm not interrupting or you guys can continue to, the land clearing that Blair's doing on Main Street.
Don't
that-
get me started.
Oh, right by the wetlands?
No, but is that a project?
3 houses, I think.
Yeah.
It's just
They're
A&R.
they're two duplexes,
Okay.
they're A&R lots. If you remember, that was the one that town council conferred on, because there was question if there was access because of the guardrail.
Yeah.
And they proved that
Oh,
because
oh,
there
yeah.
was a break in the
Yeah,
break in the
guardrail, there was
guardrail.
access.
Yeah.
And they do have active, wetlands permits for those two lots right now.
Yes, but
Slipped him in right before town meeting, I'm guessing.
No, believe it or not, they've actually been on the books since 2022 and they expired. However, under the new legislation for the Special Extension Act, it actually pushes them out another 2 years. So they don't even have to come back for a renewal. It's just automatically extended.
Cause that is like right in that wetlands there.
and
Runoff, all
that's
that.
what ticked me off is about Zone A.
Yeah, there is DCR, there is Zone A over there.
And I have been asking DEP and DCR for sign-offs on all building permits within wetland areas for crying out loud, because I wanna make sure that everyone's looking at it that's supposed to. And may I ask, do you know where that water goes to? That's in that swamp?
Oh, it goes down the water pipe that we pay for, doesn't it?
Doesn't it go to Worcester?
She hit it,
Yeah, what's,
Pine Hill Reservoir,
yeah, would have to.
so we're
Goes
sweetening the
that
water
far.
there too. Just like on Wachusett Street, we're sweetening the water, it's only 30 feet, less than 30 feet bedrock, septic systems on bedrock.
No. Sweeten, I see what you
Oh,
mean.
God, get me.
Is he putting in septic? He doesn't
Oh,
wanna
yeah.
tie in.
There's no
Like,
sewer down there.
There's no sewer down there, and he did not want to pump, and he's putting septic in,
They've already put in a well.
yes.
I know you can't build that close though, cause wasn't there a house in town that's right next to Molten Pond that had a septic system that's too close? Obviously, there's gotta be,
Possible,
The Board of Health has regulations on how far
yeah.
yeah,
it
so
has to be.
I guess if anything, if. I know. Just curious
I
about the
know.
project, but yeah,
It
it
was-
sounds like there's a lot going on there.
Yeah, it's on
I didn't
the
think
books.
Howard Mann's house, it's closed, but I didn't think the septic was. Molten Pond rather, you said?
It was rumored. You know where the culvert they just did across,
Yes.
someone.
The dam.
Someone made, I probably
Oh,
can't,
the log home that's in there?
across the street, so the one that's next to the little fishing spot everyone goes
Yeah.
to. Someone said that the septic there is like built within, obviously, too close or whatever, but I believe, I don't know if it hit the town or not, the way the person was talking about it. Cause obviously it kicks back to
Yeah,
the Board of Health, but
right.
obviously there's gotta be some, they're gonna go down there and make sure that lot is, it's at a minimum, its distance, you know?
Yeah.
Whether it leaches perfectly or imperfectly is, I don't know. But yeah.
Is there any other business to come before the board?
Dog just spoke, no. Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
No.
Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye. 8:39.